Oh hey, it's Wes and Veronica. And today I want to talk about one of the questions that I get more than any other question. That is, does the new a7 IV, which we're recording on right now, make the a7S III obsolete? Let's talk about that. So the first point in mind, of course, is that the a7 IV is $2,500 and the a7S III is $3,500. You expect a lot for $1,000 of difference. So what do we get here? So here are the pluses of the a7 IV. I found that the autofocus in the a7 IV was actually a little bit better and more intelligent than the autofocus in the a7S III. Now that might be down to the fact that it simply has a much higher density of image sensors, so it has more information going into the autofocus system. That is fairly subjective though. But one of the biggest differences is on the a7 IV you get 33 megapixels, whereas on the a7S III you only get 12. This results in not only larger images, but even results in sharper video in a lot of circumstances because you're downsampling from a lot more sampled lines on the a7 IV. Additionally, the USB-C port on the a7 IV is capable of higher power, so it can stay charging longer, and it's also capable of 10 gigabits per second versus 5 gigabits per second, so faster transfer speeds. This is fantastic for tethered shooting, but if you're tethering with the a7S III, you're transmitting less than half the data, so it's kind of a wash in the end there. Additionally, at present, the a7 IV has focus breathing compensation, such as with this lens, the 35G Master that we have on right here, and they still haven't released it on the a7S III. Should be coming soon though. And of course, the biggest advantage of the a7 IV is that it has a better price. You save $1,000. What are we losing with the a7 IV? Number one, this is the second video that I've recorded in a row, and in the previous video, my a7 IV overheated. I'm in a house that is currently 18 degrees Celsius. It's not hot in here. And one of the big advantages of the a7 IV is that it has a higher power USB-C port, but the reason my camera overheated is that I had it plugged in and charging while recording, and that was too much for it. This camera gets hot. The a7S III, in most circumstances, is not going to do that to you. Additionally, if you're shooting in 4K 60, like I am right now, you have an APS-C crop. You lose a lot of your sensor. That's not the case with the a7S III. And the a7S III can go all the way up to 4K 120 and 1080 240. That's a huge advantage depending on your filming needs. Additionally, the a7S III has a full metal body, whereas the a7 IV is plastic on the back end. And additionally, the a7 IV only has one CF Type A port. So if you want to shoot all I, S and Q, you can only do that to one card. That's not a huge disadvantage, but overall, you do get faster writes if you're using dual CF Express Type A cards on the a7S III, which you can't do on the a7 IV. And finally, and probably the least concern for people comparing these two cameras, is that the a7S III can shoot 10 frames per second in almost every circumstance, whereas the a7 IV tops out at 6 frames per second if you're using lossless, compression, or uncompressed RAW, which is a big disappointment, very slow for this day and age. Overall, the a7 IV is very much a hybrid camera, a fantastic hybrid camera, but if you need a compact, video-centric cinema tool, the a7S III is a much better choice for you. It's not going to overheat, and it's going to open up more possibilities with full-frame videography. If you have any thoughts on this, let me know down in the comments below. If you want to buy either of these cameras, I got links down in the description below. So let's talk about that, and until next time, you are a very fat cat. Oh, and let's go take some photos. What?